for doing this with me. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Um, I guess that's well, the name of this podcast that I'm doing is called Transcend, Breaking Boundaries. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to have a conversation with you is because you became a part of my life at a very pivotal, you know the word I'm trying to say,
You got this.
time. At a very pivotal, you got it. You know the word. But and it was important because I had already been in the military for about 4 years, for 4 years at the time, and I was also on hormones at that same time. So I was pretty much trying to balance living a double life because the military didn't know that I had started my transition. But I mean, it's not just that. You also gave me a roof over my head at a very hard time in my life as well. But, I want to let people know your history. If you wouldn't mind just telling them about yourself, your background, military background.
I'm an Army National Guard veteran. I was in the service for 6 years, and that was where I met Gibson, Albany. Sorry. And yeah, we've just been friends ever since, and I love him to death. And we don't talk often, but I know I can always count on him if I need to.
Very true, very true. We don't talk often, but we definitely communicate with important things going on in
Yeah,
our
we always
lives.
pick up where we left off for sure.
Yep. And I love that. That's the type of relationships and friendships that I love because I'm never in one place long enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I like to make sure people do know, I'm there if they need me. So was I the only transgender person that you were aware of in the military, or did you know of others?
In the military, yes.
Okay. Right. That's so. One of the quick, just little things always think about is when we were at AT and I had Transformers on repeat, watching the movie Transformers over and over.
You played
Everyone
that
was
one more
so
time, I was gonna kill you.
Everyone was so annoyed that I kept watching the same movie over. And then my alarm went off earlier every time too, before everybody's alarm did. Yeah, it was pretty funny. But I mean, I think that was actually before we had started living together and before you had known. And I mean, I'm not too, because even Johnson, Breon, when we talk, I sort of always just hid in the back, stayed to myself so that, I didn't want to make people feel uncomfortable because I was trying to, live two separate lives. But, how did you feel when you did find out that I was trans and that I had to still sort of well, actually, I had to still be with the females. What was that like for you?
You didn't want to be noticed, but you would listen to Transformers on full volume 24 hours a day. Sure, okay. Uh, no, I legit thought you were a dude. That was the first time I met you. I thought you were just being helpful. I thought you were helping all the females bring their duffel bags into the barracks, and then you lay down on the bed, and I was like, bro, like, why are you so comfortable? Like, your barracks are next door. And you're like, nah, I gotta stay here. I was like, all right, whatever. I mean, I'd already been in the military for a while. Like, we're all battle buddies. We all dress and change in front of each other, and nothing sexual about it or anything. So I just was like, okay. I didn't know if you were female transitioning male or male transitioning female. I was just like, you were like, I gotta be here. So I was like, all right, you gotta be here. Just shut the fuck up. So
Yeah, headphones weren't that great at the time. They weren't wired.
yeah, even when we lived together, they weren't that great at the time. Because I'm happy.
Yep, that's still my jam. That is still my jam.
It's a good one.
It is. I mean, I like listening to the good music to get my spirits up. I gotta, music and certain things that keep me in a positive mind frame. I try to full blast it all. So, stay in that positive vibes only. Try to. Try to at least.
Same, same. So I have a question that I've never thought to ask you before. Do you have ADHD?
I do.
Okay. So, that's why you like to watch the same movies on repeat over and over again, right?
I did not know that. I didn't
So
know
I've
that.
recently been diagnosed and it's helped me understand a lot of things. So when we watch things that we are used to and comfortable with, it puts us at ease in general with an uncertain environment. So that's probably why you were watching the movie so often in the barracks, because you were uncertain and unsure and it was a new unit for you and you didn't know, because I have a bad attitude. I know that. And you didn't know if my bad attitude was going to be directed at you or not. You were right next to me. So you were probably like, oh shit, this bitch. I got to watch Transformers to put myself at ease.
No, I
Um,
mean it was, but I mean no, that makes sense because I do tend to when I'm in an unfamiliar territory situation, I like to try to do things or like listen to stuff repetitive so that it calms me or puts me in that mindset that
mhm.
at happier times. So that makes sense. That does make sense. I mean, my
Yeah,
my
thanks.
playlist on my phone is literally the same playlist for years that I listen to over and over just to
Same.
calm my nerves.
Nothing like 80s and 90s R&B.
Very true, very true, and it's the go-to for the karaoke as well. That's my go-to for karaoke.
Not enough drinks in the world to catch me singing karaoke, but I got you.
Oh man. Now, so I believe because I think I was the only trans individual in the unit, and it was First Sergeant Allender. He tried to. I feel like he knew. I didn't tell anyone, but I feel like he knew because he was trying to help me out with a couple of other things that was going on. I mean, I sort of got the shits in when by the time I had transferred to that unit, and by the time I was living with you, I wasn't being paid because no one really cared to fix the situation that was going on with me. And, it was staying with you. And I mean, Desi and your sister and all of them, that was a very welcoming home. And I loved that because it made dealing with other stuff going on, that made dealing with other stuff that was going on with my transition easier to manage. And what I feel like right now, what's going on trans people are now allowed to join the military, but there's still a lot of pushback that comes from it, from people joining openly. I mean, I'm not sure if you recall. I mean, the moment Trump had gotten into office, he instantly had banned trans people joining, and now one of was it Senator Rubio currently his whole thing saying that Biden just made it a social experiment, allowing trans people to join. What's your thoughts on that? Like, how do you like? What's your take on trans people actually serving and fighting in the military?
I think we're all human. And for any of us to think that we're perfect. And I was reading a little bit about Senator Rubio because I hadn't really heard anything about it. I just kind of looked at it this morning and last night after I received your questions. And it was like describing gender dysphoria and like, well, wait, aren't you human? Don't we all have some sort of dysphoria about something? Does that make us less effective in our jobs and anything that we do in our family relationships? No, it doesn't. The only thing that makes us less effective is when people mistreat us. So that's really how I feel about it. I don't feel that a trans person is going to protect and take care of me by my side, working by my side, any less than a non-transgender person, because we're all human. We all suffer from something, and being trans is not something that you suffer from. It's just who you are. So if we are who we are and we're genuine to our being, then we are the most effective when we're genuine. It's when we try to be who we're not and hide that from other people that it makes life difficult. I feel like openly accepting transgender anybody into the military community could do nothing but be better for the military. I don't know if that makes
I
any sense.
agree. No, no, it does, and I agree. I mean, because that's, I mean, my personal experience. I felt like I wasn't as effective as I needed to be because I had to continuously hide the fact that I'm trans. Whereas if I could have just been open about it, I mean, it wasn't. I knew I could ease. I knew how to fix the trucks. I fixed the trucks. I did what I was told to do, but it was like I had to do it and make sure that I had to walk a line and not cross a certain boundary, this and that. Which then, if that's constantly on my head, then that doesn't make me as effective as a soldier. And I mean, in my mind, if you have trans people who want to sit here and sign on the dotted line to fight for an army and for a country that doesn't necessarily respect us, let us do it. I mean, do it. There was someone who told me that the part of the reason where they want to, another reason is because they don't want to fund trans people, surgeries and so forth. And all the money that this dad going, if you don't stop and just pay, like to me, it makes no sense. Like if you want an effective military and an effective military branch, let people be who they are to join. As long as they're not out here trying to sit here and shoot up the bases themselves, let them join. You'll have a happier military if you stop trying to restrict people from finding that happiness. And
Exactly.
it makes no sense that it's still an issue. I mean, I saw a statistic that said that there is like 15,000 active duty trans individuals right now, and about 134,000 veterans, trans veterans. And I mean, I'm in a couple of Facebook groups, and I know of high-ranking trans individuals, but you know what I'm saying, it's still the constant battle of trying to get in. And I mean, granted, some things have changed compared to when we were in. I mean, we were in what, nearly 10 years ago, about over
Yeah.
10 years ago, and a lot has changed. But at the same time, it's still at a standstill. And I mean, when they kicked me out of the military, I actually didn't care because I wanted to just be me. I wanted to live my truth. And I saw it as, y'all not paying me no way. Y'all don't care about me no way. So, all right, if you don't want me to come back, I'm good with it. And but it's like that uncertainty. Soldiers, transgender soldiers now still have to sort of deal with that uncertainty, not knowing if whether or not it's okay for them to be there, or if whether or not soldiers know how to navigate it and so forth. And like I said, I mean, when they stand in the barracks, no one, everyone's to themselves for the most part. You're doing a bunch of stuff early in the morning. You don't got time to be sitting here worried about what anybody else is doing in the barracks. It's sleep, sleep. That's all you really care about, is trying to get some rest and survive and make it back. Honestly,
Train, sleep, sleep, train. That's all we're worried. And eating. Eating's important. But, the military isn't welcoming or friendly to anybody that's not white cis male. I mean, I'm I'm a Latina female, and I was constantly having to reiterate my position as a driver. Well, that's not a girl's job. I should have done HR, or I should have been a medic, or I should have done supply, or it's like, fuck that. Like, if I'm able to do the job and I want to do it, what's the problem? Like, female doing combat jobs, should they, shouldn't they? Who cares if they want to and they're capable? I don't feel like, so if a female can do the same physical standards that any male in that job can and wants to do the job, by all means. I don't think standards should be lowered for a female doing that job, but they can and want to, by all means. Do I want to? No. Um, I also know that our unit, I don't know if you know this or not, but our unit deployed several times without me, um, certain sections, and I had to train people to go because we're not taking females. Oh, but you're going with a unit that's taking their females? You don't have to make any extra accommodations for me. I can stay in their female barracks, but you're not going to take me because I'm a female, because our unit was predominantly male, being an artillery unit. you're considered a combat unit. So they're like, oh yeah, we need you to train these two, white male cis kids, 18, 19 years old, fresh out of basic, to go die overseas. We're going to Afghanistan and you stay here. But we need you to train them because you're really good at your job. But I'm not good enough to take.
I actually been I wonder if that's the reason why they didn't push my paperwork through, because I was supposed to actually deploy once with our unit, and then I was supposed to deploy once with another unit, but and my other unit that I was in was also was a maintenance unit. And you're right, because on my paperwork and everything it says that I'm female, and there really weren't that many female mechanics in our unit. Actually, I don't think I was the only female mechanic in our unit.
Sergeant
Actually.
King.
Oh no, yeah, Sergeant King, yeah. Yep, Sergeant King. Yeah, she was one too, and yeah, she was the MMA fighter. She could.
Yeah.
Oh man, I remember she told me she would be doing her leg exercises and pulling the daggone Humvees, and man, nah, I'm not strong enough to do that. But like you're saying, like if you have soldiers that are strong enough to do that, who don't, the standards don't need to be lowered for them, let them. Like, but I mean, our country is we're not people of color, people like you and I. This isn't our war, our military that we should be fighting for. And I had that conversation with someone else. Like it's not meant for us. It was never meant for us. I was actually listening to a podcast that, was talking about affirmative action no longer being in the schools. And so it was like, we can fight and die for this country, but we can no longer be educated in this country. And it's like, this country was built for cis white males to continue to succeed, and that's it. It's not meant for anyone else to succeed. And I mean, but that's why I want to, like, this conversation that we're having now, and I want to start having conversations and making things stay in the forefront of people's minds so that real change can even possibly happen. You know what I'm saying? Like I for a long time just blended in. We did what we're supposed to do, especially in the military. You do what you're supposed to, you blend in, and you just gotta survive that way. And that's it. I do feel in order for things to really change, for the tables to turn, more proactive action needs to happen, and on a consistent basis. And I want to at least do my best to, make that possible, because, there are trans people are going to forever still sign up to join the military, because the military for some is the only option really, because they don't necessarily see what possibilities, or they don't know what they can actually really do. So the military is the only option. I joined for them to pay for me to go to school. Did they do that? No. So I shouldn't have done that in the first place any daggone way. I joined for a very wrong reason, especially as a Black individual. But
there's no wrong reason to join. I mean,
that's what I did.
What's the benefit?
But it was a benefit, but then it got taken away. Like 4 years in, they stopped paying for National Guard soldiers schooling. They stopped being able to get that fund. I remember, because when I was filling out the paperwork to do it, I remember they had called me and told me that they're putting a pause on paying for National Guard students, members of the National Guard schooling. I don't know if and the first thing that came into my mind was like, I joined for y'all to pay for me to go to school, and now you're telling me that you can't even pay for it.
That's ridiculous. I'd look back into that, because that's how I went to school.
Well, I'm trying to do a lot. There's a lot of stuff that I'm fighting. I was like, all right, I got other stuff going on in my mind mentally, and I just let it be.
I'll help you look into that. There's this website called Swords to Plowshares. It helps change your discharges. I helped a Navy veteran change her I think she got other than honorable discharge to a general discharge so she could get her benefits because she gave up her life for this country and didn't reap any benefits from it just because she was actually was lesbian. So that was the issue, you know. I don't know.
I would, yeah, I need that help for sure. And I mean, it for a long time. I didn't really. I sort of I wanted to put the military behind me, and just not really think about it. But then I realized it is hard to do, and I gave 7 years of my life to that. What they owe me, somebody gonna give me something. Like, that's how I look at it.
Not just that, G, but it's such a major part of our identities. Like, yeah, you joined for college or this or that, but people who join the military, it's a different level of person. Like, you're still serving your community. You didn't just join the military to go to school or serve our government that doesn't take care of you or do anything for you. It it was to serve your community. I mean, because that's part of the reason I joined. I didn't join to serve the United States. I really served to join the people in my community. That's part of the reason why it was the Guard also and not just straight Army. It was because we serve the state and federal. And I don't trust our government federally. Not that I trust our state, but there kind of has to be some distinction in there somewhere. And so for them, honestly, to betray you that way, it's like you go to sign up for a job and they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to give you health insurance. Oh, never mind. Just kidding. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So, this country's built on the backs of, people of color, and they don't care who they use and abuse until it's not convenient for them. What they need to do is mind their own damn business. And like you said, action is required, but if really everyone just treated each other with kindness and minded their own damn business about anything, we would be in a much better space in general, and action wouldn't even be necessary. But I'm here. I'm armored up, and I'm ready to take action with you in whatever way, shape, form that is.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And you're right. I did say, I joined to pay for school, but at the same time, you're right. I joined for my family in the sense I joined so that they wouldn't have to, in a sense that they that they wouldn't have to deal with the certain things that I'm dealing with or growing up dealing with. You know what I'm saying? And that's even now, like why I'm doing this and trying to build this type of community and continue to keep it going, because I eventually do want to have kids. I don't want, I mean, I really can't control, but I'm a little scared to bring kids into this world, into what it is right now. And, I feel like if the only way that I would feel safe to do it is if I know that I'm on the front lines doing something to at least try to create a safe atmosphere for them.
Yeah.
And the only way I can do that is if I, no longer, I mean, because I was stealth most of my transition. The very first time actually that I even spoke about being trans was, when you had asked me to do that conversation for Allies for Black Americans for the group. And that was the first time that I even, spoke about it. That was just like 3 years ago. And then I noticed just like a lot of different things in my life. If I would have, I mean, a lot of things in my life happened, unfortunately, the way they did. But if I would have stood up taller then, I feel like a lot of things could have been differently for just a lot of variety, a lot of different ways. And, I could have, even back then, I mean, even trying to take doing the drug tests in the bathrooms and in those like uncomfortable situations, no one really knowing who's supposed to be in the, like what to do in the bathroom, who's supposed to be in there with me. And then those were moments where, stuff could have been done. But then again, no one was really ready, because it's still a white cisgendered military. And so you got to find the right people to have the right conversations with in order to really make effective change.
Yes.
Um,
Advocacy
hopefully,
is where we start. That's it. I mean,
yep.
that's the only place to start. And like you were talking about children, I mean, I've told my husband I don't know how many times I feel so guilty for bringing children into this fucked up world by choice. All my children were planned. Am I selfish? Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm adopting one now, but I think about that a lot, and I just feel like I brought these kids into this world and it's a fucked up place to be. And like you said, he tells me, Christina, you can't solve all the problems of the world. I go, I don't care if I can't solve all the problems of the world, but maybe I can solve one for today and maybe one for tomorrow and maybe one for one person. And it makes a difference. It all adds up. And if we all do that, that's really what matters.
Yep.
But to live this life just, you know, blindly and selfishly and me, that's not it. It's not it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I mean, I hope that more parents, you know, have the right conversations. I mean, because even your sons and Desi, you know, growing, living with y'all, and it was just nothing. I mean, I don't know what the conversation they had with you about me, but it was they just treated me just normally, as if it was no concern or anything. But it's like now you got parents who sitting here ready to pitchfork schools because you got teachers who are trans, or you know, the students who are non-binary in school, and apparently that's too young of an age to understand that. It's not too young. It's not too young of an age. And if you decide to
No.
make the right choice to help them now, you will possibly save their life, opposed to them, you know, doing the worst.
I'm glad our house felt like home to you because you've always been my family. You know, I mean, obviously, now you got on my damn nerves with your movies and your music. Not that you don't have good taste. I just don't like to hear it at full volume 24 hours a day. But like seriously, like when you told me, I mean, I remember I saw you and you had your duffel bag. I'm like, why do you have all your TA50? And you're like, that's not my TA50. That's my stuff. I was like, why do you have all your stuff? And you're like, oh, I don't even remember what you said. And I was like, get your shit, let's go. You know, like what the fuck? You were already family at that point.
Yeah, and
So
and I thought that was just so cool. That I thought that was because yeah, I was sleeping at the bus stop that day. I had to sleep at the bus stop in order to get to drill, and I had my stuff like hidden away someplace. Some of my other stuff hidden away, and I was like sleeping at Union Station on the benches. And yeah, it was you just said let's go, and it was like no questions asked, nothing, easy peasy. And I was just like, thank you. like the world needs more people like you, especially my people in my community need more people like you to lend a hand, to show, to see us without all the other stuff, without the world seeing us as if we're some type of disease or some type of thing or all that.
thing where it's a mental illness. Like, what? When I read that, I was like, oh, okay. I don't understand. So you think that, you know, I could take, you know, an antidepressant and be over this or what? Like, what the fuck? I don't know.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, one of the things, like, there's a variety. Not all trans identities are the same. That's the thing. So to try to lump it up as into one simple thing makes no sense. Not every trans individual is the same. And so it's like, why do you feel the need to just classify it under one thing? That literally just makes no sense to me. And it's with like trying to put labels on everything. You ain't got to label every goddamn thing. Just let people live, for crying out loud. Let us live.
Exactly.
Let us live. That's all we want to do is live. I mean, that's literally all I've ever want to do is just live my life. I just want to live my life.
Exactly. Without all the extra. The extras was really unnecessary. It's just I don't know. I can't. I know. life is not this hard. People just make it hard because they don't know how to mind their own damn business. And I can't figure a place in my life where I have so little going on that I give a fuck what anybody else is doing in that regard. Really?
Right?
I
Like,
just want people to be kind to me, and I'm going to be kind to you, and that's it. That's all that matters to me.
kindness. I mean, this country though is just so, it's going backwards. I mean, women's bodies are not even their bodies no more. I mean, all them daggone old white men decide they wanted to tell women what to do with their body. Like, man, I just really truly feel like we're just
so few people that are like-minded like us, like just vote. They just don't. They feel like they don't make a difference, so they don't bother to vote. And all the people who are full of, hate and vitriol and whatever other poisons they feel like they need to spew on the rest of us, like they're the ones who are at the polling booth. They're sending in their absentee ballots, and the rest of us are just like, it's not going to matter. Well, yeah, no, it does matter because we add up and we do count and we do matter.
Yep.
So it's important for us to go out there for sure and get everybody else out there.
It was Trump's election, right, where so many absentee votees that showed up. So people came out the woodworks when he ran, and it's the ones who hate people of color the most, the ones who felt like they were doing the country a favor, voted for putting Obama in the White House, and that was it. Y'all had y'all favors, so now let's go ahead and get out these tunnels that we've been in for the last some odd years and turn this country back the way how we want it.
Well, and people also think like, well, so much has changed. Trump being in office changed this and that. No, shit didn't change. It just let them be more vocal about who they are. This has always been going on. And so, like, me especially, I live in California. I've grown up, born and raised in LA my whole life. It's a very diversified community, culture, very accepting for the most part compared to the rest of the country. Well, we are a minority. Like, most people don't think like LA or New York or Atlanta or, Chicago, these major cities. Most people are in rural America and they're constantly brainwashed to fill themselves with all this hatred. And all Trump did was give them permission to speak out loud, but nothing has changed. It's always been this way.
Open that door. He opened that door wide. Double door opened wide. It was like, let all the hate flow in right about now. Oh man. It was in that January 6th, when I saw what was happening what was a couple of years ago, and I'm just sitting there watching it, because I remember I was like doing homework. I was late getting some homework done, so I'm sitting there trying to get some homework done, and I'm seeing this happen, and I was just like, wow.
Like, is this even real?
Like, I just, wow. They really just stormed. Oh man, it blew my mind. And then the next thing that came into my mind is, if that was a black person, they would have blown everything up instantly.
Sorry,
if it was a person of color, they would have had no problem shooting us down dead instantly. Instantly.
It would have been an act of war. It would have been treason. You would have been hung by the gallows on the front lawn of of the White House. Like, that's ridiculous.
They wouldn't have thought twice about it. They wouldn't have thought twice about it. They would have just unloaded. Wouldn't have thought twice about it. But if it's a bunch of Caucasians storming, all right, we got to take a second, folks. Let's wait a second. Let's pause. Give them a moment here.
Let's ask them if they're hungry.
Right? They might be thirsty. Let's go ahead and supply them with some water too. They got to stay hydrated. They're fighting a fight here.
Yeah, gee, I don't know. I mean, the question is so big, it's a little daunting.
In case this country decides to still go downwards, I can get on about it here somewhere.
You know, people joke that this is the greatest country on earth. I don't know about that.
Yeah, when they say that, I wonder what false information they got to let them think that it has its perks, but it is not all that. It is not all that grand. Not
No,
all that
it's
grand
not.
at all.
I have a
All
question for
right.
you. G,
Yes.
what can everybody else, me, myself, my children, my family, my friends, what can we do to help support the trans community? In the military, not in the military, just what can we do to help support?
I honestly, everything that y'all have been doing is what's needed. Now, moving forward, the best thing, if you see something, say something, stand up for individuals, because some trans people are too afraid to speak up because they don't. I mean, I myself, I've lost jobs for being trans. And it's because I didn't stand up for myself. No one else stood up for me either. So, number one thing, the best way to stand up, if you see something, say something. Don't just witness it. The next thing is include us, because we are a part of the community at large. We want to feel included. We want to feel like our voice and our opinion do matter, because we are part of this country at the same time. So, and there's more of us out there than people think, honestly. A lot more are becoming more open about it these days. There are more of us out there. And I mean, the next best thing, don't just all assume we're the same. Don't assume we're all the same. And I understand that might require being gentle when it pertains to conversations, like what to be said and so forth, because there's some individuals who might get offended by some stuff but not offended by other stuff. How I see it as, if it offends one person, then I'm not going to say it, whether or not it offends me. If it offends one person, then I'm going to go with that one that feels offended, because that's the one person that needs me to stand up for them,
Yeah.
for them to be seen. Because we're definitely not all the same at all.
No, for sure. And I think a lot of people expect a lot of emotional labor from trans people. A lot of people expect a lot of emotional, mental labor from people of color. And even veterans, like people have a lot of questions that some people aren't necessarily comfortable answering or even being asked. So you just have to find the right space to ask those questions. And I feel like we have so many resources nowadays. I mean, with social media, there's a lot of groups that just support asking questions like, hey, I'm here, I'm trans, I'm willing to do the emotional labor to ask your questions. Don't offend your loved ones just because you feel like you have a right or a need to know or whatever. Same with people of color. I mean, the allies space is a perfect space for people who have questions and people who are willing to do the emotional labor. So just find the right people um, to support in whatever way, shape, or form that happens to be, and just don't assume that because it doesn't offend one person, doesn't offend somebody else. Like,
Yep. Yep. The more people that we have willing to want to grow the community, be a part of the community, be an ally, and build, the the safer it will be for trans people, and the more you'll have trans people wanting to assist and help. I mean, for a good major part of my life, honestly, how I saw it is, it's not my job to educate anybody or to do
no,
any of that. But then it's like, I don't, if I'm seeing it's still a problem, and if I know I'm strong enough to do that legwork and to do that, then I'll do it. So, like I said, when living with you and y'all, that was the support that I needed to sort of really figure out how to navigate this life and navigate this world, and to deal and do with everything that comes with being trans and doing all this. I mean, because trans people aren't just don't stop being trans. Like this is a forever thing, and then it's like a forever journey. I mean, I still got 4 more surgeries to go through, and that's going to take a toll on my body, physically and mentally. And it's like it's a lot of work that trans people have to just to be their true selves. And I mean, there was an individual who was in my life who said something like, well, that's your choice. And they didn't, that's why they didn't want to be supportive about it or whatever. And I'm like, you're right, it is my choice, but it's my choice to be happy. And if this is what I need to do in order for me to be happy, then I'm going to do it. Because would you rather me kill myself? Because if I don't go forward, that's going to be the end result. Me killing myself. And I don't want to do that, but I also don't want to live a life where I'm not true. That's not true to me. Yeah. So if going through all these surgeries is what needs to happen in order for me to get my happiness, to be happy, to be my complete self, to be my version of happiness, then that's what I'm going to do.
Most of these same people are having whatever elective surgeries they want to have because they're not happy with their body or their face, or they're getting fillers and Botox, but it's not the same. Well, yeah, it is the same. You're pursuing your happiness, whatever that happens to be. Yep. Just because you don't like what somebody else is doing doesn't make it any different. But people are hypocrites. They really are.
Exactly. And it's so like all these cisgender people out here just getting tons of stuff, but they don't realize it's you're doing it for your happiness. You want to be happy. It is really it's no difference in me really trying to sit there and do things. I want to be happy, and if that means I want my outer body to look how I feel on the inside, and if that means taking hormones shots once a week and having tons of surgeries, then that's what's going to have to happen in order for me to be happy.
You're not asking anyone to sacrifice what you want, what they want for you to be happy. You're the one making all the sacrifices. You're the one doing the hard work. You're the one coming out of the pocket. You're the one going through the pain, the suffering, that's hard work, but you're doing it to be happy because it's important to you. So
exactly.
For anyone to deny that is unconstitutional.
There you go. You're right. There we go. Oh man!
Seriously considered going back to school to study constitutional law just because of all the bullshit going on. Not because I want to be a lawyer, but just because I'm like, you know what? It's unconstitutional.
Yeah, I've actually thought about going back to school and doing sociology, majoring in sociology and economics, because I want to, I really do want to try to create safe spaces for trans people. And if that means, because I stopped looking at the amount of trans people who die each year either by killing themselves and this and that, because that number it gets depressing to continuously see that number, and so I feel like I want to safe space. In a safe space makes a huge difference. Literally, a safe space makes a very big difference.
It does.
And we need more people like you. Like I said, you provided that safe space to me, and at a very hard time in my life, and that saved me. It definitely saved me, and kept me moving forward and looking for positive things. Thank you so much. I will forever always say thank you about that, forever and always.
I didn't know I was doing anything other than loving you, man. That's it.
Just love. That's all it takes. That's what people need, is love. That's really all they need.
It's true.
Trans people just want to know that they're still loved.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're one of my favorite people. I love you. You also got to think about. So you're in a very fortunate position. you're a self-made man and you're financially capable of getting the surgeries and things that you need. What do you think we can do to support trans people who are, below the poverty level, can't necessarily get surgeries that they need, can't get the support they need, and that kind of thing?
So one of the things there. Okay, well, Kaiser has been what's been the insurance that has made all of this possible.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot. There are other health insurances that they're still very new to it. So for those who are under the poverty level, move to California and get on Kaiser. That's honestly I mean, because before then, no, it's definitely very expensive. I mean, top surgery used to be about 10, 15 grand, but I mean, this is the importance of gender affirming healthcare. This is why this is a major topic. Gender affirming healthcare is because there aren't individuals like myself who can afford it. And the only real, how I saw it, honestly, for myself, the solution was to move to California. That's why I continuously go to California. Now, I don't want to say that so that California be overpopulated, because Kaiser is in other places, but they have to find the right health insurance network right now, and Kaiser is what that is for gender affirming healthcare. That's the best one that I can say.
Oh, I mean, that's good to know. I knew you had Kaiser, but healthcare in and of itself is a roadblock for a lot of people. And Obama did his best to make it not be a roadblock, but it still continues to be. A lot of people still don't have healthcare. So, like you said, I think gender affirming healthcare and then healthcare in general, if we work harder towards making that attainable for everybody, then I think we'll be on the right track.
I think I know it's a lot of paperwork and it's a lot of things to do, and it's unfortunate that has to be the case in order for trans people to get the healthcare that's needed. And I'm hoping that a solution comes around sooner for gender affirming healthcare. But as of right now, like Kaiser is they've been, and Kaiser again is still very new with it. There are some clinics who help with it as well. There's the clinic that I first started going to in San Diego, actually, when I first started transitioning. They, didn't have the healthcare. I had the military healthcare, but they weren't about to do that. But it was it was in Hillcrest. It was in the LGBT town Hillcrest, I believe that's the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they provide the resources for starting going to the therapy, getting the hormones and everything. And then on the East Coast in DC, Walter, there's the clinic that's here in DC, Walter something. I can't think of the name of it, but it's another LGBTQ clinic. So that is another option. The clinics, finding the community clinic, the city clinic that is a very big advocate for healthcare. That is an option. It does take time though, but they do have the resources to help the best.
Good. That's good to know. I wouldn't have known where to even start, so I can't imagine. And we have resources. I'm saying I wouldn't even know where to start, so I can't imagine someone, like you said before, living in secret, trying to live a double life, trying to figure this out. And we're fortunate that in this day of the internet, it's a little bit easier to find information, but that hasn't always been the case. So it's good to know.
Yeah, I will say I'm one of the fortunate individuals when it pertains to my transition, because I had Kaiser as a child it was easy I was always in Kaiser's system. So when I started doing when I started hormones and everything, like, you know, I had to see an endocrinologist, but all my paperwork, I filled it out as male. So they were sort of like thrown off because my levels weren't where they needed to be. But then I was taking testosterone. And so it was sort of a confusing time for the doctors too. And then I told them like, well, you know, I'm transgendered. And so that's when I noticed that Kaiser started creating resources and access for trans individuals. I mean, because my bottom surgery is completely through Kaiser. It's not, and I mean, this is where I feel like it does lag a bit, because the initial surgery of what I wanted, the donor site that I wanted them to use, the doctors aren't familiar with that. But then there's like outsource, out of network doctors, that I could have gone through for it, but it was Kaiser's paying for majority of it. So, you know, I'd have to go that route and have to sort of compromise in a sense for the surgery that I wanted, because I wanted to use my left arm, because I'm not some right hand dominant or whatever. But I told them they're not putting my granny's name on my penis, so they got to figure something else out. And so it ended up being my leg that got used. I was like, it's just a hard no on using my left arm. It's just a hard no right there.
I mean, there's a lot of skin on your body. They could have found somewhere else.
Yeah, and they did. They used my leg, but they were really adamant about trying to use my arm. And I'm like, we're not using my arm. It has my granny's name on it. We're not doing that. And the reason why it had to be the left one is because if anything went wrong, like when reconnecting with the nerves and so forth, because I'm right-handed, I needed to still be able to use my right hand if need be. But, you know, surgeries and everything went well. The next one is next month on the 22nd.
Wow. Here?
Yep. So I'll be making my way back there.
Okay.
22nd. Yes, indeed. I'll be I think I'll be in the hospital for a couple of days. So I'm always down for visitors.
Okay.
Always down.
You're gonna be at Cadillac?
Yep. Cadillac Avenue. Yep.
I will see you for sure.
I'm excited to get all these done. I did some traveling this year, and so that's what sort of postponed a lot of it.
I saw you were everywhere. You were like fucking Carmen Sandiego. I was like, where's Waldo?
Breon said the same thing. Breon said the same thing. Breon Johnson, he said the same thing. He said, I'm like Carmen Sandiego asking where I'm at in the world now.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, you're oh wait, you're where? You're a Burning Man? What the fuck?
Oh man. Well, I'm going to be going to Alaska too, in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
To go see the Northern Lights. So I want to go see the Northern Lights. And then
I'm trying to plan a trip for the same thing, but to Iceland.
So that's the plan for next year. I might be going to Iceland next year to see him again, because apparently it's a better view in Iceland. And I hope I'm gonna see him in Alaska, hopefully. But then when I get back, I'm going to Budapest for a week as well.
I want to live with you. I'm packing my duffel bag, G. I'm packing my duffel bag.
It's I'm at that time where I gotta travel now. And again, it's all now. I feel more alive. Like I feel more like me, especially after having like the first couple of procedures of bottom surgery. Like I feel so much is just lifted off of me, especially not feeling like I have to hide anymore. That just really feels good. It feels so good. It's so good. It feels good to be this, and I want everyone I was in Spain actually, uh, and it was there. I didn't realize I was there during Pride. It was like the Madrid Pride, one of the biggest prides in the world. Over like 7, 8 million people were there. The
Nice.
streets were packed. It was insane. But it was while I was there that I decided that I wanted to like do this podcast, have these like do this because the feeling that I was feeling that it took so long for me to eventually really feel. I want other trans people to feel this, to eventually get to that point. And what I feel is necessary. And then I thought about the people who helped me get to this point, like you, Kelly, your friends, your circle of friends. Those individuals, y'all helped me get to this point. Those were the stepping stones in my life that I needed to get to where I'm at right now. And I want to give that to other people. I want other people to know that it's possible to get to this point in life.
I love that so much. I love you. And
I
you know
love
what?
you too.
You're one of the most beautiful people I've ever met.
Thank
And
you.
you've definitely grown into yourself. Like you've always been you, but like I see you now. Like you're where you're supposed to be, you know? And I love that for
Heck
you.
yeah. Heck yeah. Yes.
You
It's
make me
amazing.
I don't have feelings, man. You make me cry.
No. No crying, no crying.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I want to thank you for talking with me and taking this time out again. I will share this with the world. Let the world that people like you exist to keep that hope going. Keep that hope going. Kelly, I'm talking with Kelly on Thursday too. I think that's going to be a very
I heard.
entertaining conversation as well. This was
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, G. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for being a part of my life. Thank you for staying in my life. And, I'm always here for you. And I know you're always here for me. And just for family, forever. You're stuck with me, man.